תתארו לכם עולם יפה, פחות עצוב ממשהו ככה, ואנחנו שם הולכים עם שמש בכיסים ומעל גגות הכוכבים, והזמן עובר בלי פחד, ואני הולך לפגוש אותה בגן העדן. תתארו לכם קצת אושר, כי הוא כל כך נדיר כאן, עיר מגניבה בתוך החושך, ושנינו בשמיכה, והיא מלטפת אותי ואומרת לי מחר יקרה מה שרצית, ועם לאט השתקפויות של עצב ושמחה. תתארו לכם באמצע יום יפה, שמיים עליכם, אהבה איתכם, כן ככה זה קרה, לפתע היא אמרה, אני עוד זוכר אותה, כמו בסערה. תתארו לכם אותי נופל לתוך זרועות ערה. תתארו לכם עולם פשוט, חדר ללילה, בית בגשם, ריחות עצים מלאים בתות, ושנינו שיכורים. אם ניפרד אני אמות, היא לוחשת וגועשת. תתארו לכם עוד הזדמנות לחזור פתאום לנעורים.
Shalom and welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Cannon, and I'm the proud chairperson for the Greater LA Jewish National Fund Women for Israel. I'm a proud member of the National Executive Committee of Women for Israel and a member of the Circle of Sapphire Plus. And I'm really delighted to welcome you to our Israel fashion event today. Jewish National Fund USA Women for Israel is a dynamic group of female philanthropists who share a passion for building a prosperous future for the land and the people of Israel. Today, we proudly account for 33% of JNF USA's total annual giving, raising more than $22 million in this campaign year alone. This is our power, yours, mine, JNF USA, and Israel Bonds. Today, we are thrilled to partner with the Women of Israel Bonds, focusing on Israel's vibrant and extraordinary fashion industry. We will hear about the past, present, and future of Israel fashion through one of Israel's most brilliant fashion entrepreneurs. And if you want to see this for yourself, you can join our exciting art and fashion mission, which will be going to Israel this coming January. You will be hearing more about this in the future. I would like to thank my fellow co-chairs, Elise Golden Berkeley, Laura Stein, and Jean Friedman, as well as our Associate Director, Quentin Ozeri. Without them, this program couldn't have happened. Please join me in welcoming Israel Bonds Western Region Women's Division Chair, Laura Stein, who is also co-chair of our upcoming Women for Israel luncheon on May 11th at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Laura is counsel to the law firm of Robbins, Geller, Rudman, and Dowd, LLP, and she currently serves as a leader in several community and national organizations, to mention just a few of them: the National Campaign Advisory Committee for Israel Bonds, JNF USA Women for Israel, the Board of Governors of Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, and the Advisory Board of Boys and Girls Club of Santa Monica. So I'll hand this over to you, Laura.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and Elise, and Jean, and Quentin, and Ellen Robin, for our representative from Israel Bonds staff. I'm wearing both organizations' necklaces today to represent my dedication to both. But for just a moment, I want to tell you that Israel Bonds like JNF, is an investment in Israel. And Israel bonds, when you purchase a bond, you are actually participating in the strength of the economy of Israel. You write the check to the state of Israel. It's an investment in Israel. You are, as if you were purchasing treasuries from the United States in your investment portfolio, you would be doing the same for the country of Israel. And as diaspora Jews, this is an incredible opportunity for us to be part of supporting the country that we love so much. We have partnered with organizations like JNF, my personal favorite partner, to support the endeavors of Israel and its charitable needs. And my colleague, Jean Friedman, who is the chair of our Builder Society, will speak later about the method in which we can support charities through Israel Bonds. But let me just assure you that Israel Bonds and its investment goes directly to the state of Israel to further the goals that I know all of you hold so dear. So with that, I have the privilege of introducing our speaker today, Galit Reisman, and she is a fashion entrepreneur from Tel Aviv and a tastemaker who has years of experience in media and fashion and focuses on rising stars of fashion in Israel. So we are in for a treat today. I've been seeing her program and it's phenomenal. Thank you for joining us. Galit?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. In order to start, I will share the presentation. One second. And wishing you to enjoy the journey before the conversation with our guests of honored. So as you said, my name is Galit Reisman and a fashion entrepreneur. But my path in the fashion didn't start immediately. In the age of 30, I shifted from the media, as I said, and I started this path in the fashion industry as a distributor, leading more than 40 trade shows at the Javits Center. Back then, I shaped my life to the Israeli designers and its unique story, but I was missing the ground. I was missing Tel Aviv, and I decided to go solo. 10 years ago, exactly a decade ago, I founded TLV Style, the first and leading fashion tourism in Israel, which I'm aiming to bridge between the international community and the local creative community through unique tailored experience. I'm leading tours as well as leading events inside and outside Israel, all with the same mission: to inspire my guests, to educate and engage them with the local fashion industry. Until you will be on ground, let's feel the creative energy we have in Tel Aviv. I hope it gave you a taste for more. And usually I like to ask my people how you get inspired from the city. So myself, I got inspiration from the quote of Coco Chanel. Chanel said that fashion doesn't exist only in a dress. Fashion exists in the sky, in the birds, in the people's stories and places. And this is exactly what we are going to celebrate today, the stories of our people as a reflection to our society. But how it all began. Chemda Ben Yehuda, the lady that you see in the picture, was the wife of Eliezer Ben Yehuda, who revived the Hebrew language. And she was the lady that coined the word fashion in Hebrew, ofna. in 1904 and introduced it to the cover of the Hebrew City. She was actually the first fashionista, and she spread the trend that came from Paris and immersed her stories with female empowerment. But in the early days of the country, after the country was established, they were dealing with what character the country will wear. And in the first decades of the state, there were two groups of aesthetic ideals that were differ from each other in terms of design, production, and marketing. Those were the resulted from two opposing ideologies, the socialism and the liberalism. The most famous representative for the socialism was the company ATA. ATA was founded in 1934 by Erlich Müller, a Zionist socialist who immigrated from Czechoslovakia, and he led the vision, forms follow function. Straight lines, lack of decoration, such as the Bauhaus, actually, style in those days. And we should remember that most of the inhabitants around that time was mostly focusing in the family unit, recovering the family unit and building the country and not dealing with fashion. So this spirit supported the utility fashion and the austerity period back then. On the other hand, we had the liberalism, people that were coming to Israel, the wealthy people that settle in the Hebrew city and continue to resonate with the Parisian fashion and the glamour that was featured in various magazines. We could see a lot of them, the European industrialists, tailors, leading couturiers, a professional photographer. And I actually love to say that they put the foundation to the Israeli fashion industry as we know it today. And if I mentioned ATA on front of it, I want to mention the leading tailors, Lola Bear, that she also immigrated from the Czech Republic in 39, and she considered herself as the national dresser. She used to say about Israel, but between the khaki and the American colony, between this and this, there is nothing. And she wanted to blossom Israel with her mission. So those were the foundation. And of course, we have a lot of other stories. We cannot mention inspiration without going back to the founding women in fashion, two women that I see them as the first fashion entrepreneurs in Israel, and their legacies are filtered to our society. Of course, I'm talking about Miss Leah Gottlieb, who founded Gotex in 56, and Miss Ruth Dayan, who founded Maskit in 54. Both founded, as I said, their businesses in the 50s, both recognized opportunities in their time, and both took Israeli folklore motifs and poured them into their fashion brand. And remember their name, because they weren't fashion designers, they were fashion entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurship really recognized with the industry today. So if it takes us to today's life, in the past, we had only few iconic fashion stories. Today, the situation is totally different, and we have booming of young designers who are shaping the local sphere. So in one hand, we have a volume of young designers that are visionary, passionate, and wants to follow their inner calling. But in the other hand, we have young country with no solid, rich fashion heritage. If we look abroad in the States or in Europe, young designers have huge brand and design houses that can inspire them and teach them methodologic and techniques. In Israel, unfortunately, the situation is not there yet. And because of that, a lot of the young designers open their own businesses and becoming entrepreneurs. They are facing a lot of lack of support from the country, and lack of support of the government, and lack of materials and buying power, the size of the market and craft people. But on everything is the threats of the fast fashion. And in front of the fast fashion stand the growing movement of the slow fashion as we know it through the young designers today. And what defines slow fashion? Designers are working locally, doing everything handmade in small quantities. And what is most important in Israel, supporting the fair trade. And luckily in Israel, we don't have child labor. When the global trend forecaster in the world, Lee Edelcourt, addresses in her vision the new possibilities that the corona pandemic has brought with it in the context of the global fashion industry, I knew it was relevant for our industry as well. It teaches us about sustainable fashion, the comeback of value of textile and the importance of hosting new ideas and values clothing, exactly what we are going to talk today with our guests. But I want to take you to a very quick journey through present and future. And of course, I can't start this presentation without mentioning Mesquite. That was revived by Sharon Tal, that was the head embroidery designer of Alexander McQueen for 3 years. And with her return to Israel, she decided to continue Mesquite legacy, designing high fashion with handcrafted work in Israel. Through her story, we can learn something about the Israel modern vision of the pioneering that drives to design our future. And see how beautiful that only in her latest work, she was make it to the TV new episode, Sex and the City Revival, dressing Sarah Jessica Parker. In my activity, of course, I'm talking a lot about innovation in tech and innovation in the mindset, innovation in form and fabrics. And if I'm talking about the fashion technician, of course, we need to mention the 3D printers and the pioneering and leading in the field, the Knit Palette, that was the first in the world that creating the ready-to-wear whole collection by 3D home printer. She believes that 3D technology will become the most critical player in the fashion revolutionary and can impact the circular fashion industry. Then it keeps saying that we will consume fashion as we consume music nowadays. Well, all of us will have home 3D printers. We will be able to download samples, print, wear, and start our day. And if we're talking about innovation, so it can be exist in textile as well. And one of the inspiring example is by Renana Krabs, a Shenkar graduated that founded with her father, Dr. Oded Krabs, Algin. The company explore a holistic and sustainable development of new materials taken from the microorganism algae, which is renewable and healthy microorganism. It's a fiber that will dramatically change and reshape the fashion industry. However, most of the innovation still exists in the mindset of the designers. And part of the discourse, as I mentioned, is talking about slow fashion. And the event that shaped this understanding about the importance of slow fashion was the collapse of the Rana Plaza textile factory in Bangladesh on its thousands of workers and become the greatest disaster in the history of textile and was turning point of the awareness of the importance of human rights in the fashion industry. We have so many inspired talents that are part of the slow fashion. Elisha Bargel is one of the new voices that are doing high fashion, intelligent fashion from the center of Tel Aviv. We have other stories like Shachar Avnet, that believes in love, and she does her best to work and make fashion by doing good for the human and the world we live in. The brand drives inspiration from the fusion of fashion and art, merging the intangible dimension of the mind and the physical body. And think about it, in the last 5 years of activity, she dressed Beyonce already 5 times, and all thanks to the Instagram platform. Last but not least, before diving into our conversation, I would love to wrap this short journey with the future of fashion and ask, have you ever thought on the metaverse? We are moving towards a digital life where most of the attention and development is invested in the space. Designers are starting to design their collection accordingly. People who live virtual spaces and the fashion will be accordingly. David Cohen is one of the Israeli pioneering in the field. As a fashion designer, graduate also from Shenkar, and tech entrepreneurs, he considers himself as a person of mixing and combining areas that may look far, such as realism and human, technology and art, tech and fashion. So this is totally the future, my friend. But to wrap it, I have to say that a lot of my clients define our Israeli fashion as a regional, independent, but mostly brave. And let's meet two brave, beautiful women that brings strong vision and mission to our local industry. I want first to introduce my first guest, the brand Tushaya, made by Tom Muati, a textile design and an artist. Shenkar graduated with honor, a pioneer entrepreneur in sustainable ecological fashion in Israel, specialized in organic aesthetic. She lived and worked in Tel Aviv for the last decade until COVID-19 has arrived, and now she's in the north, back in nature. The owner and designer of Tushaya, a design studio of sustainable nature, handmade, high-quality knitwear. She designed and handcrafted elegant and timeless items, all made with sustainable, natural, special materials. Let's see a short introduction. And my second guest of honor, Doreen Frankfurt, a leading fashion designer who works in the heart of Tel Aviv with a creative career and tenacious belief in local design and manufacturing as a way of life, involvement and support for young creators and social activity. She believes fashion and culture, a tangent language, nourishing each other and weave into one whole story. Designer whose collection are inspired by iconic figure in Israel culture, heritage and ethnic customs, operates in south of Tel Aviv, and her clothes are collected by dedicated followers in Israel and around the world. Let's see her amazing company through her team that work with her. Amazing. So I will skip the presentation now. Where should I close it? 1 second. And we can continue with my honored two guests, or Doreen and Tom. Welcome to see also Doreen. And And I will start actually in saying that, Doreen, only recently you have given your first lecture in Tel Aviv, reviewing your years of extensive career. And actually, I was amazed also to learn how in the early days of your business, you always were like part of the slow fashion movement, but you were dealing with one of the first to deal with sustainable fashion. So I'm not only honored to sit with both of you, one of the most established designer and one of the new emerging voices, but I would love to share with the audience today and hear from both of you what motivated you to start your path in the sustainable fashion world. I will start with you, Doreen.
Actually, what motivated me is education and realizing that the world around us needs it. Amazingly enough, I was a horrific mother in a way that I was the one who was recycling when it was considered odd. So now my children are very proud of me, but I think that they thought I was a total loon. But the whole structure of our factory, because I have a partner for the past 40 years, the same partner, we're still together. But the whole idea was recycling, because it was the beginning of the 80s and people started using dispensable diapers and dispensable towels, and the factories in Israel who shut down had tens of thousands of meters of fabric. And my idea, I approached my friend Margit, who is still my friend, and that was my first collection. So basically, it's been haunting me my whole life. Perhaps, because I was born at the time of the Tzena. I'm vintage. And my grandfather's clothes became my clothes. So perhaps it started at a very young age. And I cannot, attribute it to my parents.
Inspiring.
And it's been carrying on, in order to survive in Israel and manufacture and support my little community, I needed to be very thin, not physically.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way of conducting my work. And, today I do things that I would never have thought at the tender age of 70, I would be the one in charge of. But that is life. And that is how we carry on supporting ourselves.
We will get it how amazingly you continue through the decades to keep your core of business. But first I want to ask Tom about her initiative about sustainable, because I think it's one of the most important topics today that, again, linked to slow fashion, but the most important to make awareness.
Yes, I actually, 12 years ago, while I was still a student, textile design student in Shankar, I had a lecture from one of the professors from the RCA from London, and I remember this moment because it changed my life, because she explained about the impact of the textile industry on the world. And I remember this moment that I'm saying, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And I chose to do a textile design, but in a way that won't harm the environment. So I chose to work only with all natural materials that are biodegradable and have processing that are more sustainable, like small amounts, maximum process of the yarn to a garment, and more about that later.
I always love the story in one of the tours that a guy from the board of the Amtrak in New York bought your scarf and said, I'm going to put it on the table and see how a young lady wants to change the world. And we are talking about changing the company system. So it's inspiring to see how you're really motivated to do it in a very strong vision. And if we are talking about both of you, how you honoring region and culture and heritage. And you keep, as I said, during your strong agenda during the years, I'm amazed and curious to learn how you keep it so strong during 5 decades. And manufacturing in Israel, because your logo is design and manufacturing in Israel, while the change and your scale of business is big. So how you keep it so local?
Okay, I'll begin. I keep it because I watch people like Tom and they inspire me.
Wow.
Because they are the future. She makes beautiful clothes. But actually what keeps me going is the hope that we can create something different. As a small country, we cannot compete with all the huge conglomerates that, you know, operate in third world countries. Now, Israel has an amazing amount of talented people. And the reason why I keep on it, because I believe this is the future. And the future of a small country is being dependent and not being, you know, I don't know, transatlantic, I don't know, manufacturing and basically shifting stuff that other people produce. Now, what keeps me going is the belief that we should support the people of our own, you know, neighborhood. Now, by neighborhood, it can be the Palestinians too. I produce in Tel Aviv because this is how I built my company. But we are responsible for a region, and being responsible keeps me going for 50 years, and I'll keep on, you know, even a watch that is broken is right twice a day.
And yeah, and you, Tom, as well, as during only 12 years in your activity, but you tried, you wanted to do it big industrial, but you kept your original handwriting. What make you decide about returning back to your essence?
Yes, first of all, I'm so enjoying it because Doreen is such an inspiration. It's amazing. So it is a big honor to sit with you together in this interview.
Thank you.
And what happened for me is when I started Tushaya, I wanted to give back the respect for the traditional handcrafted. As a textile design student, I learned how much thought, effort, and energy goes to creation of every little piece of fabric. And I really wanted to bring it back to more and more awareness of more people. And also in creating handmade textile, knitting, weaving, embroidery, etc., I believe it gives some peace and satisfaction to the person who is creating it. And I believe that this feeling is transferred through the garment to the person who's eventually going to wear it, and part of what makes it enjoyable. And of course, naturally, when I started my business and become growing, there was a point that I wanted to grow the business, and everyone told me that it has to go to the industry and it has to become in the industrial production. And I checked it. And I remember these days doing that while I was keep doing my handwork, and I felt that every step I went far away from our agenda and our vision. So we stopped with that, and we kept on going, creating one by one by our very talented knitters here in Israel, which I'm very proud of, that they can create it and make their living out of it because they love what they do and it gives them their living. And on these days, it's also because there's so much products in the world, and it was especially from COVID-19, from a lot of reasons. These days, I create only a very small amount of stock, and I do almost everything by ordering when online, and it gives me a lot of satisfaction knowing that every item that creating is for someone who wants it. So it's also part of our agenda.
And I know through my guest from the wall, this is what they're looking for: the uniqueness and the souls and the independent stories. And you, Doreen, as I mentioned in the intro, you are mentoring and guiding a lot of the young talents. And I'm curious, since you work in so many decades in our local industry, do you see a change from your early days of the industry to nowadays?
Yes, I think you just heard the change. Change, no, change is something that is our responsibility as older people. And I believe that it's, you know, a big part of it is education. Now, we have amazing fashion schools and really no outlets for all those amazing talents. It's very important for me that, and my work is becoming more and more that way, is actually aiding those students realizing their dream into reality, because amazingly enough, there is no board, there is no way they can, you know, they can turn to. So I became the go-to, and the go-to not only about structure, but also about how you build a collection, how you approach a collection, how you finance a collection, how you sell a collection. Now, it's very, very important, and it's lovely to teach, you know, young people to dream, but dreams should be realized, and it can be done. And we do not have to think, you know, big, and really, how much money does a person need? We don't need that much.
Yeah.
We need to create, and a creator needs to approach, you know, in different ways what they want to do. Now, I'm working also with the industry, and I work with Arad Textiles, and they operate like a family. And I know now we're going to launch in the USA, and I'm going to launch it from this little neck of the woods that's called Israel. I'm not, you know, and I'm going to approach it in that way. So the idea is, you know, let's dream on.
Amazing. And you, from vice versa, from your point of view, very shortly, Tom, did you had the chance? Hopefully this meeting will create collaboration with Doreen, but I know you had previous experience with other established beautiful people. How we can reach your business to work with leading figures?
First of all, I was
one second, Tom. Yeah.
okay.
Galit, we do need to stick to our time frame, and we will come back to our question and answer. So I did want to step in here for just a moment and thank you, Galit, for this wonderful and very intimate presentation, and to your colleagues for joining us and highlighting Israel's vibrant fashion industry. And I know because the dress and the jewels are from Israel on my most recent trip. My name is Elise Golden Berkeley, and I am a Zionist, proud past president of the Jewish National Fund, USA, Greater Los Angeles Board of Directors, chair of Makor, and a Circle of Sapphire Plus. Nothing brings me more joy than to share the latest and greatest of Israel together with like-minded women who love Israel. Golda Meir, my hero, who I had the honor to meet, once said, "I never did anything alone. Whatever was accomplished in this country was accomplished collectively." This philosophy drives the Jewish National Fund USA's Women for Israel, that by working together, we turn our dreams into reality, making a strong, lasting impact. We are the premier nation-building organization for the land of Israel. Throughout the Negev and the Galilee, you cannot go a block without seeing our projects, whether it is a resiliency center, secure indoor and outdoor playgrounds, medical centers, water solutions, and hundreds of bomb shelters, decorated or otherwise, in the Gaza envelope communities. We are bringing the arts, culture, entertainment, and music to the frontiers, creating vibrant and modern societies, even the Galilee Culinary Institute in the north. We provide employment opportunities for young Israelis, helping them build their lives in the peripheries. Today, our partners are working together to help absorb the recent immigrants from the Ukraine through our Louder employment centers, through Nefesh B'Nefesh and Makom, and so much more. Today, the Jewish National Fund USA is tasked with bringing 300,000 new residents to the north and 500,000 to the south. These areas are flourishing and are our homeland's future. And that's thanks to you. Look at the power of the women. Look at the speakers we've had today. Look at the participants in our room. Today, I am asking each of you to join me in our endeavors. Join the Women for Israel and help support our impactful, life-changing work. We appreciate all your meaningful donations, and every gift matters. For those of you who have made a generous gift, I would like to thank you for that. For a minimum of $360, you will be part of our Women's Alliance. You may consider joining our Chai Society, which is a minimum of a gift of $1,800. Then there's our Sapphire Society with a minimum annual gift of $5,000. Our Circle of Sapphire is for our women who have made that commitment, who have stood up for Israel and have donated $100,000. And those of us here who are Circle of Sapphires have exceeded that amount. And I'm so proud to see in our room today 2 World Chair members. These incredibly loving and generous women have given over $1 million each. I am humbled by your generosity. Every dollar that you can give will make a difference in Israel. And as you know, you can pay through our wonderful partnership. In fact, I encourage you, just ask Laura and Erez, I encourage you to purchase a bond in Jewish National Fund's name, creating that connection, solidifying that connection for generations to come. I would also like to remind you of our wonderful mitzvah market, where as a result of the pandemic and nobody was going to Israel, the vendors, our partners, were crying there was no business. So, well, when there is a call, we answer. So we started the mitzvah marketplace where you can buy handmade and other wonderful products on our website, and I believe it's going to be posted for you in the chat. By now, it is now my pleasure to welcome my dear friend, Jean Friedman. She is Israel Bond's Western Region Builders Society Chair, who will tell you more about our partnership. Jean? You're on mute. But your lipstick looks great.
It's really a great honor to be included in today's program, to join in the Women for Israel Society, and what you're doing is totally amazing. I'm really very proud, and I pledge to you, I'm not sure what, but I will pledge $1,800 for sure, just to begin. But I'm capable of doing better. In any case, I'm the chair of the new division of Israel Bonds. It's called the Society. Many of us have been involved in Israel Bonds for many, many years. And I come from a family where my mother and dad were very involved in Montreal. So for us, it's like my husband puts his tefillin on every day, and I do this stuff every day. I believe that we're doing holy work, or what we're doing for Israel. I'd like to mention or welcome Erez Goldman, who is in our audience today. He is the director of the West Coast region of Israel Bonds, and he is an inspiration to all of us. We've been very, very lucky. He's our new guy on our new team, and he really does everything to make us very excited and hopeful also for the future of where Israel Bonds is going. I have also been always felt close to JNF. It's part of my home, part of my childhood, the blue and white Pishka or Pushka, whatever one calls it, depending on your Yiddish accent. was part of our family decor. And every Friday night before candle lighting, this was even before 1948, because my mother brought her pushka from Europe, and she was doing this in her small town where she lived. As a child, I felt this magic box was full of our hopes and dreams, and surely would bring about the miracle of the state of Israel. And the classroom of the Jewish day school I attended was always decorated with the JNF trees, and it was more prestigious and more important for us as children, who we were young Zionists, to buy the leaves to complete the trees. And today's program in Israel Fashion was such a great inspiration. I have been wearing Israel clothing for many years, including, I must say, I'm from Montreal. We all wore the Gotex bathing suits, which really were great. And Israel's reputation and people's awareness of Israel is very often connected to the fashion world, because this will often be, for people in foreign countries, their first introduction to Israel. I'm so proud to see where you're going now. The fact that you're using, I'll include myself in this, because I feel like part of what you're doing is part of me too. So when we look at the new sustainable products that you're doing, and your enormous introduction to the new world, the new life, and that it's part of a fashion, I have to tell you that I'm Canadian. I was brought up in Montreal, which was a very fashionable city. A lot of the fashions came from Europe, and the fashions from Israel were very, very important to us. Laura Stein has already talked about JNF working hand in hand with Israel Bonds. And Jerry and I have been proud supporters of Israel Bonds for decades. We're excited about the recent launch of the Shalom Savings Bond. All of us support tzedakah in our different lives, but it was always difficult to do the mitzvah bond. But today, the Shalom Bond was specifically designed, a new possibility. The Shalom Bond was specifically designed not for profit entities. You can buy this bond for as little as $36 and having $1 increments, and you have the option of a 2-year maturity. We have always called this a double mitzvah. Israel gets to use the funds for their infrastructure needs, and the charitable organization will receive the proceeds with a 1 or 2 year window. And I would urge you to consider buying bonds for your donations to JNF and your other organizations and your synagogue, beside it being a wonderful, wonderful gift for young people getting married, and also for the bar and bat mitzvah possibilities. So if you need any assistance in buying these bonds and need purchasing the bonds, all you have to do is call the LA office, and LA bond office, who will be very, very happy to lead you forward and help you. I want to wish you all Chag Sameach, Chag Pesach Sameach, or as they used to say, a kosher and Pesach, and to you and your families. And thank you so much again for an amazing, amazing presentation today.
Thank you so much. So we will turn it back over to Galit for our last 10 to 15 minutes for any Q&A.
Okay.
Feel free to put your questions in the chat box.
Thank you so much. So we left 1 or 2 questions to sum our intimate conversation, and then to open it to Q&A. So Doreen, 2 questions, maybe to merge them together. Also, you're really part of the slow fashion and the traditional and the garment themselves, but do you see yourself link in a way to the future of the fashion technician, the technology? And maybe that will lead us, what is your new phase that the COVID-19 pandemic affected you and open a gate for a brighter future, maybe. So
you're talking to me, I'm extremely technical. For me, you know, no, it's true. My first website was created on the 9th of the 9th, 1999, and have been changed, adapted. Luckily for me, my partner is a woman, because otherwise nobody could stand it. Innovation is part of our work. And for me, it actually connected me to a huge part in my personality. So I'm the IT man of our company.
Oh, wow.
do. It's true. We took upon ourselves to do the studio from, we are our own publicity, marketing, you know, we actually, I can't even tell you how technical this whole thing is. I got job offers for it, which is amazing, because actually the company that offered me, people can be there, not my children, they can be my grandchildren. So for me, innovation, novelty is part of life. And I believe that I'm moving in a different direction because I've started creating homeware with an Israeli company, which is really exciting. I'm a pro in digital printing, so I'm working with a company that is working with sustainable inks. And wow, I'm going to start teaching, because I realized that sitting in my factory in Israel, and that is why I started also with the lectures, because I decided to shout it loud. Listen, if I don't do it now, I ain't gonna do it ever. So it's now and never. So amazing. I'm going into a totally new phase. Yeah.
Amazing, inspiring. Wow, always did. And for you, Tom, to sum it up before opening to the audience, and I read already a few questions. What is your, I know you connected and want to combine more technology, fiber, but what is your next phase in the business after COVID hits the door?
Okay, so first of all, about the materials that we're already working about, the innovative is that we're working with the unique materials that are from natural material, but with human involvement of processing, like the bamboo, that I call it the vegan silk, that it has the thermal control quality. So when it's hot, it's more chilling, when it's cold, it's more warming, and it has like the silkiest touch. And the soy, which I call the vegan cashmere, because it's very warming and very soft and breathable. And both of them are, of course, sustainable and antibacterial and hypoallergenic, so they're actually healthy to be in touch with us. And really the next phase I'm researching now is also the digital printing, that I'm looking to do it on cotton and on natural materials in the best. So I will be in contact with you, Doreen, if you will allow me to get the right way. And also, I'm very interested about the whole biotechnology with the mushrooms that they have today that you mentioned about. So I really want to contact them again to check if it's already a possibility to involve. And it actually takes me to my biggest dream, because COVID-19 was a pretty big strike for us financially in the home. And this is part of what made us leave Tel Aviv, which was our home for the last decade, and moved to this small place in the north. That is actually a blessing. We'll love it. We'll love nature. We'll love the slowing down process and getting so much inspiration and being present in the moment. But I do really, my big dream is to make my business bigger. And I'm just now looking for a partner, investor, mostly prefer women, but not necessarily. And I am looking for it because I really have so many design ideas in my head that I really want to give them a life. And I realize this is the only way that it will keep on going. So I do hope for that.
You sum it like Doreen, shout it loud and just make it happen. So it's inspiring.
Yeah, so I'm shouting it loud in here as well and telling that about to everyone who's meeting.
Because we have 5 minutes left, I want to go over the questions and to see what we can answer. The first, by the way, ladies, I want 1 second before opening to the questions to share this one. You are welcome to take a picture, 1 second, all of you, with your phone, that you will be able later in your free time to go to the website, see the coupon codes that the dear designers offer you for today, and just enjoy a beautiful product. So I'm stopping it now, but you have it also in the chat. I see one of the questions Sarah is asking, do your design, maybe I guess it referred to Doreen, for all ages of buyers?
Yes.
So please. Yes.
That's the whole idea, of course. I don't believe that, there is any, I don't know, sort of a ghetto for ages. Clothes were made for women, real women. And real women are not extremely young. So basically my clothes are for women from 25 to 95, and I'm all in. And that has been part of the agenda. Listen, we had a really complicated agenda, not a very financially sound idea, but with the years, obviously it worked. We're still here. So, but yes, definitely, all ages.
And I see another question that is very curious. Are there collaborations with US designers, companies that we can accept?
In what way?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe your businesses bridging, collaborating with the US market in different affiliations, or is that question, Laura was referring to the industry in general or to the ladies that joining this? I don't know if, I can say based on my knowledge with designers, of course, they can collaborate with talent singers, female leading figures in the state, but I don't know if there are collaboration with companies.
Yeah. Actually, Arad Textile is in affiliation with Standards, and Standard is an American company of linens, of bed linens, luxury and hotel bed linens. So in a roundabout way, I work with an American company, and it's actually fabulous. You can imagine. For me, I work with the Turkish company. I'm all in. As long as the people around me, it supports the people around me, I'm willing to work anywhere.
Yeah, totally. And I see here another question. Will Israeli designers join New York or Paris Fashion Week? I have something to say as
I've
well.
done that for years. Yeah. It stumps now. I leave it to you to do that. No, thank you.
It's very,
Tom.
It's very challenging. I tried it for a few times. I checked it, and you have to invest a lot of money to be a part of these shows. So as long as you are a small entrepreneur like me, it's out of my reach. Unfortunately,
we'll talk about it. That's actually how it began. No, I disagree with you. I promise you to speak to you. I owe my success to Britain. It did not start in Israel.
Wow.
It started on a flip. So we'll talk about it. Not now.
But I think during the future, the current life is even under the pandemic is changing a little bit. Today, the designers have the direct to customer ability and social media. So the game of fashion weeks and trade shows are not there like in the past.
It changed, that's true. But if you look for, with the young people, I've been involved in their amazing careers, even like Head Miner, it starts abroad. And unfortunately, Israel is very small, it's very limited. Do not shy away from opening up. And
I do sell globally. from my website, and I do work. I also have an Etsy shop to increase my customers, and I wouldn't exist if I didn't had any US and global customers. But in order to go to these shows, when I checked it, it was very expensive. But I'm really will be happy to get any assistance from you, Doreen. You're very
No, it changed. The system changed. I mean, I used to run from show to show. I, used to show the British designer. I'm a British designer for Petah Tikva, but I used to show the British designer show at the Javits Center. Actually, at the Pret-a-Porter. But that is the old world. Luckily for you, for the young generation, Fashion Week has changed. The world has changed. It's open to you. Come on, go get it.
I want to sum it up with that sentence. The world is changing and we need to go out to get it. And to say thank you to both of you in person. You were amazing and inspiring. So thank you for that. And
thank you for the ladies who are helping Israel.
Yeah, and
thank you.
Yes. Thank you
for inviting us, and to wish you a happy Passover, a wealthy and safe one.
Yes.
And Chamsa, may it be peaceful. Thank you.
Peaceful and healthy. Thank you very much.